Jaylen Brown has signed the richest deal in NBA history. He has agreed to a 5-year extension for $304 million. The extension will start next season. Summer of 2024 is when it will kick in and start. So it will go into effect during the 2024-2025 season. And I have to say, this is amazing just how high he's gotten paid now. This is, I repeat, the highest paid deal in NBA history, which makes him obviously the highest paid player ever in NBA history. Think about all the great players that have been in this league for just the last 30 years. Jaylen Brown has made more money than Michael Jordan, just Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Tim Duncan. Just it's insane. And even when you adjust these guys' contracts, due to inflation, you adjust it, he probably still ends up making more. So this just shows you how big these contracts have gotten now, how astronomical they are in size. Obviously, I don't think he will retain that record for being the highest paid player ever for long. I'm sure within a year or two there'll be other guys getting even bigger deals. You just look at guys like Luka, whose deal will be up in a few years. He'll be eligible for even a bigger max contract. But it just shows you how powerful the supermax money is just when these guys get it, and it's just insane. I just look at it this way. I personally feel only a few guys are really worth that type of money, especially currently in the NBA. I would say Jokic, Giannis. I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Kevin Durant. I would say in the past he'd be worth the supermax when he was younger. I could say prime young LeBron obviously was a supermax player, but and Curry playing at a high level is a supermax player, I would say, but that number is very small. Maybe you can toss in Luka, Kawhi when he's healthy, but you get what I'm saying. The amount of players that are really worth the supermax is so low that to be a supermax player, in my eyes, you have to be in contention to win the league MVP. You have to be competing for that award. If you're not in contention for the league MVP, you're not a supermax player in my eyes. You don't qualify. Jaylen Brown is a very good player. He's a very good second option, but I don't see him worthy of being a supermax player. And I just think this is a bad deal for the Celtics. The only way they come out on top of this is if they win a title in the future with Jaylen Brown. I will say this, that it'll get interesting next offseason because Jason Tatum is also eligible for a supermax deal. He's eligible for an extension, and I've read that what the Celtics will be able to offer Jason Tatum will be even bigger than Jaylen Brown. And you can expect Jason Tatum is going to want to be paid more than Jaylen Brown since he's the number one option on the Celtics. So the Celtics could be in a scenario where they have two supermax players on their roster. And I think going forward, this is going to affect the Celtics when it comes to being a championship contender for years to come. Because if you think about the way the cap works, especially with the severe penalties now with the luxury tax and the second apron they've added onto that, it's going to be very hard to have a championship contending team with good role players, because how are you going to make space for them and avoid paying those stiff tax penalties? I think that's going to take some great cap maneuvering by the Celtics GM, Brad Stevens, to see what he can do to build a winning roster with his team. But I think it's going to be very hard going forward. I think next year they really need to go for it. They have to win a title next year. I feel it's probably a sense of urgency, because after next season, with them having to give Jason Tatum now a supermax, I'm not so sure if they're going to be able to keep this current team they have together going forward when you think about the long term. So this is a deal I don't think is going to be favorable to the Celtics in the future. I think it could end up backfiring for them unless they somehow just win a title very soon, within a year or two. Just that's the way I look at it.